and the possibilities are huge. So for the people which are listening, they can imagine that we will use this kind of findings to produce in the next years cells for example, the smartphones, that you are not dependent anymore on cables to charge the battery. So we will have this kind of cells inside, like neutrino inside solution in the electrical application. And finally, we like to scale it up in larger scales for the mobility. So we doesn't need to burn fuels for moving our cars or bikes as we have it now, motorbikes. And finally, the goal is to have entire households powered by this kind of energy.
Hello, a very good evening to you. Often doubted and even ridiculed as ghost particles in the past, neutrinos are now finally starting to come into the view of the public eye. Recently, the revolutionary breakthroughs in neutrino research gained much attention not only at the Nikola Tesla Forum, but also in countless media reports across the globe. Holger Thorsten Schubart, CEO of the Neutrino Energy Group, summarised the situation in his presentation at this year's Nikola Tesla Forum as follows. The neutrino particles that reach us in a single day represent more energy than all remaining fossil fuels combined. For decades, fossil fuels such as oil, natural gas and coal have played a positive role in the processes of industrialisation and mobility. But now that the end of these resources is at hand, serious consequences are beginning to reveal themselves, most notably in the form of geopolitical conflicts and climate change. Furthermore, because these resources are not distributed equally, some few countries have been able to finance their own development and economic well-being at the expense of the majority of the world's population. Over a century ago, Albert Einstein's equation E = mc², which related the mass of an object to its energy, unwittingly gave birth to the atom bomb. Two scientists, Japanese scientist Takaaki Kaita and Canadian physicist Arthur MacDonald, winners of the Nobel Prize in 2015 for their pioneering research, have unlocked a new source of energy, the neutrino. Wars have been fought on many fronts as humankind struggled with sources of clean, renewable energy globally. Today, instead of building a weapon of mass destruction, science has now figured a way to solve the impending energy crisis. By tapping the potential of the neutrino, we will herald in a new era. The waves of neutrino particles that reach us each day constitute more energy than all other remaining fossil fuels combined. Roughly estimated, in a single day, enough neutrinos bombard our planet to satisfy the world's energy requirements for several thousand years. Physicists who won the Nobel Prize in 2015 were able to demonstrate that neutrinos possess mass, and recently it has also been proven that these tiny particles interact with other forms of matter. This means that the activity of neutrinos can be converted into energy. The technology for harnessing neutrino is becoming a reality as researchers begin to unravel its secrets. In the foreseeable future, neutrinos, transformers, may do what solar cells are capable of doing with one big difference. Since it is not dependent on sunlight, it can generate energy even in the dark. Imagine the possibilities of an energy source that is not mined, is not exhaustible, need not be transported, does not emit pollutants, does not contribute to global warming, operating 24/7 throughout the year, at any point on the surface of the Earth. Neutrinos are the energy source of the future, said the United States Department of Energy. Today, science is finally in a position to tap the unbelievable potential of these subatomic particles for the betterment of mankind.
So good. What is the implications of this energy in future?
The abilities are huge because you can scale it up. So it means if the cell has double size, you have double power. What's very important is to understand that we have a system of central energy supply. That means somewhere there's a power station which are producing enormous, and I think the future will be decentral energy supply. This means that the energy what is needed, and it's less and less energy needed today for the little electrical device what we have. So this energy what is needed is not necessary that it produced a couple of 100 kilometers away, transported by a lot of costs, a lot of losses for that way to finally have a little bit DC in this electrical device. So it's much more smart and makes much more sense that we also have the energy supply always directly there where the energy is needed.
Good. So what is the steps you have in the mind, how it will become in the public?
So I think the first steps will be that what everybody has in his hand. This means the smartphone. Many people can remember the time where the smartphone doesn't exist. But the young generation there doesn't know about it, but we had a time where the telephone was only possible by cable and dialing. Today everybody has a smartphone, everybody has a phone, but we are still dependent on the old system of the energy supply. So I think we think together with the industry, we will give this gadget as the quickest in the hand of the people. I'm sure now we have very good results in the laboratory that we will have in a very short time, maybe even next year, this first smartphone running with the neutrino inside cell. Because when we change the system, even if we have all electrical cars, and the energy is still coming from burning fossil fuel, it doesn't have any advantage for the environmental. So the pollution is only coming on another place. So the system has to be changed totally in the next decades. We all see these problems with the climate change. And I think now it's really time to let the fossil fuels on the ground and to see this field of energy, what is above us. Scientists say that every day reach us more radiation for 5,000 years energy consumption of the needs of the world. So why we don't use this? This is what we have to do. So we have the established system. It was really, I think it was smart. And the mankind coming up to the next level since 120 years, and the industrialization has started. But now we come to a point where this advantage is turning to disadvantages. And we see it every time. And I say now it's really time to think for new possibilities, and science at the moment gives us and show us the way how we have to go further and how we have to act, because we all have the responsibility for the next generations. And what I think, if we understand the potential of this finding, is that the geopolitical conflicts, what we now have around the world, is causing this limited amounts of these resources. Now we have answers for the time after fossil fuel. And of course it will need a couple of years or decades to transform the new ideas and the new knowledge into new solutions. But finally, we did the first steps, and we will show now the world how it works.
How you relate silence power help to neutrino energy?
Silence power is something very important.
Thank you.
this invention, this realization, which I can see that, okay, I will demonstrate this phenomenon. At a time that kind of thing which common man also can see that it is possibility of that, and relate that what implication it can have. So from as a scientific perspective, or as a perspective of a student of civilizations, I feel it's a deep leap. It's a very giant leap. It can be, potentially. It's a very giant leap. And that's why I really came here trying to understand this. And I was very pleased because now one cannot say that this is the last century. That there is a solution, which is, I don't know, is a divine plan, or how it occurred, or how did it happen. It came at a time when humanity, in true sense of it, has lost all hopes for further existence. It is coming, but see, you know, when the death is coming, we feel that everybody else will die, but I will still be living. I will not. So it's a thing that is amazing. Thing which I wish them, I think, great success, not only for their company, for their group, for their researchers. And I was so pleased to see Sister Gutti is talking about that this is so, it's a breakthrough thing. It must be used, because any great thing can be also misused. We have seen atomic energy, and we have seen other things, even this, that it can be misused with human greed or many other things to destroy the humanity. So it must go in the hands, or it must go with the intention of bringing you the great benefits to humanity, to the common people as well, to everyone. And this invention has that potential, potentially. But it must be also directed towards very auspicious, for which human life we are given, I think. And I'm very pleased to see that we are in a group here, in a retreat, Brahma Kumari retreat, led by Sister Gutti here, and she made this thing happen. And I'm suddenly going with very enlightened and very joyful that something is dawned before us. And I wish Dr. Holger, from Indian perspective, there were lots of scientists also. One of the largest, now I'm not saying the best, or the congregation of young scientists coming from this a country of 1.3 billion people, so many young, largest number of engineers and scientists were emerging. I'm not saying they are the best, but they are emerging from that kind of thing. If they can be directed, I think it's a great news for me. And lastly, I would say, I was trying to see a relationship, as you asked the question, science and silence. What is the relationship? Why do we meditate? And I was also searching for that. Now, with the coming of quantum mechanics, we are understanding that there is a relation between the physical phenomena and human mind. And unless you still, like in any materials, like like graphene or lithium or whatever, the purity of materials is very important. Similarly, the purity of mind is very important also, to sense that. That's why we take vegetarian food, silence, and go into deep silence, and where such thoughts can come to you. What is the truth? Actually, you are seeking. What is this? And suddenly I saw the relationship between consciousness, energy, matter, and of course the field, which manifestation of intelligence, which is the whole information technology which has come from knowing what is intelligence is, what is information. So I see a great intimate link between silence, meditation, and these new discoveries, new innovations, which will show a new direction to the, particularly is occurring, we are discussing occurring in a environment of deep meditation, which is a relation which I see and which I was looking for.
So, short question, how the cooperation and what is the plan of Indo-German cooperation after going back to India?
I think this is a cooperation of the world, and India would like to participate. Means would like to, means we are always seeking that. Means I must be. I told me, Sister Goody used the word Bharat, or nation called in Sanskrit, Bharat. Bha means the light of knowledge. It is not just light of knowledge, any knowledge, auspicious knowledge. Rat means getting joyfully engaged in the pursuit of knowledge, because it is the knowledge that gives you peace, that gives you happiness. So this has been the time immemorial. This has been the pursuit of society, Vedic society. So it means we want to seek that knowledge, but understand, but also practically use. Let's say that like a bead on my palm, which I can see, I can feel, I can touch. And when I see this is that Neutrino Group will demonstrate this, it is a great news for them, not only for me but for scientific world, for the world itself. So, and I'm looking forward for that, and I pray and I do in silence for their success.
Thank you.
Once we are aware of the fact that we are immaterial beings between the two parts of the brain that initially are linked with the Supreme Being that also is immaterial, we can understand that this immaterial light has got the capacity to spread its energy, to spread its vibration to all particles of matter in the entire universe in no time. And it has the capacity to transform any kind of particle into its benevolent form. The same it does with human beings. It can transform malignity in human beings, in their consciousness, into positivity, and it can do the same with material particles of all kind, so also with neutrinos.
Thank you.
one of the most serious consequences of our actions is global warming, brought about by rising levels of carbon dioxide from the burning of fossil fuels.
Our planet cannot be saved unless we leave fossil fuels in the ground where they belong. 20 years ago, we described this problem as an addiction. Today, we possess the means to end this reliance.
We cannot solve a crisis without treating it as a crisis. We need to keep the fossil fuels in the ground, and we need to focus on equity. We have run out of excuses and we are running out of time. We have come here to let you know that change is coming, whether you like it or not.